All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into something I know you're really curious about, Gumaktiv. You sent us some stuff about it, including their website, and you really want to know, is this dental supplement legit? Or is it just like group really good marketing? I totally get it. Those testimonials they have are pretty convincing. Sarah's dentist is like raving about how great her gums look. David can finally eat ice cream again without worrying about bad breath. And Lisa's bragging about totally plaque-free checkups. Plus, they offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, and you get bonus guides if you buy in bulk. Sounds pretty tempting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, you're totally right. We really need to peel back those marketing layers.
Yeah.
And see what's underneath. You know what's interesting to me is the way this Gumaktiv stuff really plays on our desire for a healthy smile. It's something we all want, right? But the real question is, can this product actually deliver?
Okay, so let's get into it. Their website lists all these ingredients. Lactobacillus paracasei, B-lactis, BL04, Lactobacillus reuteri. Honestly, it sounds like some kind of science experiment. Can you break this down for us? What are all these things, and how are they supposed to work?
Okay, well, those first three you mentioned, those are actually probiotics. And they're not as weird as they sound. Your mouth actually has its own microbiome, just like your gut. It's like a whole world of bacteria in there. And when it's balanced, it can really do amazing things for your oral health.
Wait a second. My mouth has a microbiome. Now I'm picturing all these little creatures having a party in my mouth.
It's not too far off. A healthy oral microbiome has lots of beneficial bacteria. And those good bacteria actually help crowd out the bad bacteria. You know, the ones that cause plaque buildup and gum disease, even bad breath. And probiotics, like the ones in Gumaktiv, are designed to support that balance.
So they're like the peacekeepers.
Yeah.
Making sure the good guys win.
Exactly. They help make an environment where the good bacteria can thrive. And that brings us to the other ingredients, like malic acid. It helps regulate the pH in your mouth, so it makes it harder for those bad bacteria to grow. And then there's inulin. That's a prebiotic, so it's basically food for the good bacteria that helps them multiply.
So it's like we're creating this 5-star resort for the good bacteria while we're kicking out all the bad guys.
Haha. Yeah, I like that. Then there's tricalcium phosphate. That's important because it helps remineralize your tooth enamel. It basically strengthens your teeth and helps prevent cavities. And finally, we have peppermint, not just for fresh breath, but it also has antimicrobial properties.
Wow, it all sounds pretty impressive. I'm starting to see how all these ingredients, at least in theory, could actually lead to those results that they talk about in testimonials. Sarah's healthier gums. David's no longer sensitive to cold. Lisa's super clean checkups. It's making me think that maybe there's actually something to this Gumaktiv stuff.
It's definitely possible. But remember that everyone's oral microbiome is different. So what works great for one person might not do much for someone else. It's really important to keep that in mind.
That's a really good point. Speaking of important things, Gumaktiv makes a lot of claims about their product. They say it's GMP certified, 100% natural, made in the USA, and even FDA approved. So should we just take all of that at face value?
Well, those certifications definitely sound reassuring, but we need to understand what they actually mean. So let's start with GMP certified. GMP stands for Good Manufacturing Practices. It's basically a set of standards for the facility where the product is made.
So it's like a seal of approval for their factory, but not necessarily for the actual product itself.
Exactly. And then there's 100% natural. That can be a bit tricky. It usually means the ingredients are derived from natural sources. But the term isn't really regulated that much.
Yeah, made in the USA is pretty straightforward. But this FDA-approved claim, that one really caught my eye. Does that mean the FDA has, rigorously tested this product and given it their official stamp of approval?
Not quite. Dietary supplements, which is what Gumaktiv seems to be, are actually regulated differently than drugs. So the FDA doesn't typically approve supplements for effectiveness before they go on the market.
Hold on. So FDA-approved might not mean what we think it means. That brings up a big question then. If we can't just rely on these certifications, how do we really know if Gumaktiv actually lives up to all its claims?
That's where independent research comes in. And talking to your dentist is always a good idea. Look for studies that specifically looked into Gumaktiv, or at least its key ingredients. And of course, your dentist can give you personalized advice based on your specific needs and your oral health history.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of questions, the Gumaktiv website has a whole FAQ section that covers some common concerns, like sensitive gums, bad breath, potential side effects, and long-term benefits. Should we take a look at those?
Yeah, let's dive into those FAQs. Looks like they address sensitive gums right away. That's good because a lot of people want to know about that. They say Gumaktiv is generally gentle on gums, but they also say you should talk to your dentist first, especially if you have really sensitive gums, which is a good idea.
Yeah, that seems pretty responsible. It's good that they're acknowledging that everyone's different
Mm.
and that you might need personalized advice. Now let's talk about bad breath. That's a big one for a lot of people. They seem pretty confident that Gumaktiv can help with that.
Yeah, they claim it actually tackles the root causes of bad breath, not just masking the smell. They say that by getting rid of the bacteria that cause bad breath and promoting a healthy microbiome, you can basically eliminate bad breath at the source.
Okay, but how does that actually work?
Well, certain probiotics,
Hmm.
like the ones they use in Gumaktiv,
Yeah.
have been shown to reduce volatile sulfur compounds. Those are the main things that cause that unpleasant odor we call bad breath.
So it's not just about covering up the smell. It's more about changing the environment in your mouth. So that smell doesn't even have a chance to develop.
Exactly. Of course, there are other things that can cause bad breath too, like certain medical conditions. So it's not a guaranteed solution for everyone.
Right. It's not like a magic pill. What about side effects? Nobody wants to trade bad breath for something worse.
They do mention that gum activate is generally safe when you use it as directed, but some people might experience a little irritation or sensitivity. They recommend stopping if that happens and talking to your doctor or dentist.
That's good. I always like it when companies are transparent about that stuff. Now let's talk about long-term dental health. They say that Gumaktiv helps create a strong foundation for your teeth and gums, and that it can help prevent those common dental problems we all want to avoid, like cavities and gum disease. Is there any science behind that?
Well, if we go back to the ingredients, we see things that support both teeth and gums, the probiotics and the malic acid. They work together to create a healthier environment in your mouth, which can reduce the risk of gum disease and cavities. And remember that tricalcium phosphate, that's really important for strengthening enamel so your teeth are more resistant to decay. So yeah, their claim actually aligns with what we know about oral health.
So it's not just a quick fix. It's more like a proactive approach to long-term oral health. But I'm guessing that no supplement can replace regular brushing and flossing and those dreaded dental checkups.
You got it. Gumaktiv might be a good addition to your routine, but it's definitely not a substitute for those basic things. Think of it as an extra layer of support.
Okay, that makes sense. We've talked about the ingredients, the certifications, and the FAQs. But what about independent research? Are there any studies out there that support Gumaktiv's claims?
That's where things get a little trickier. There's a lot of research on the individual ingredients and how they benefit oral health. But finding studies that specifically look at Gumaktiv as a whole product can be harder.
So what should we do? Should we look for studies on similar probiotic blends or focus on research about those specific strains of bacteria they use?
That's a good starting point. You can also look for reviews or analyses from sources you trust that evaluate the scientific evidence for products like this. It's important to be critical of any information you find online and to think about who's giving you that information.
Yeah, that's good advice for anything we find online these days. It's so easy to get caught up in the hype, especially when you see those glowing testimonials.
Totally. Testimonials can be really persuasive, but we have to remember that they're just individual experiences. What works for one person might not work for someone else. So you shouldn't base your decision solely on testimonials.
Right. They're just one piece of the puzzle. So where do we go from here? We've got all this information. We're starting to understand the science. But how do we actually decide if Gumaktiv is right for us?
I think the best thing to do is to talk to your dentist. They can look at your individual needs, consider your oral health history, and help you weigh the potential risks and benefits of using Gumaktiv.
That's a really good point. Your dentist can give you
that personalized perspective we've been talking about.
They can also help you decide if it's worth the cost. Because this stuff isn't exactly cheap. I mean, their website mentions discounts and bulk purchases. But even with that, it's still an investment.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely have to factor that into your decision. Think about your budget, your oral health goals, and whether there might be other options that are more affordable. Maybe just sticking with good old-fashioned brushing and flossing is enough for some people.
Right. Or maybe there are other supplements out there that could be a better fit.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for you. Now, one thing that might help you decide is that 60-day money-back guarantee. That can be a good way to try it out without risking too much money.
Yeah, it's like a test drive for your teeth. But even with that safety net, It's important to be realistic. We've learned that Gumaktiv has ingredients
Yep.
that have been shown to be good for your oral health. But it's not a miracle cure.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the importance of individual responses. Everyone's body is different. Things like your overall health, your current oral microbiome, even your genes, can all play a role in how your body reacts to any kind of supplement.
So even with all this research, there's still a bit of uncertainty.
That's right.
It's not a simple yes or no answer.
That's the thing about health and wellness. It's complicated. There are so many factors involved. But that doesn't mean we can't make good choices. The more we understand, the better decisions we can make.
I think that's a great takeaway. Knowledge is power. And we've definitely learned a lot about Gumaktiv today. We've talked about the science, the marketing claims, the pros and cons, and we've talked about why it's so important to get personalized advice from your dentist. I feel like we've given our listeners a lot to chew on. Okay, so we've covered a ton of stuff, but there's one thing I keep thinking about. Those customer testimonials on the Gumaktiv website, they're so positive, do you think? I mean, is there any chance that some of them are exaggerated or even like completely made up?
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Testimonials can be really powerful for marketing, and unfortunately, some companies do kind of cherry pick the best reviews or even just totally make them up.
So how can we be smart about that? Like as consumers, how do we know what to believe?
I think critical thinking is key. Look for red flags, like if the language is way over the top, or if the claims sound too good to be true, or if there aren't really any specific details. Like if a testimonial is just full of vague praise, but doesn't actually talk about any real results, that's when you should be skeptical.
Yeah, it's like anything else online. We have to be careful about what we believe. So we've talked about the science, the certifications, the cost, even the testimonials. What's the bottom line here? Is this Gumaktiv stuff worth trying?
That's the million-dollar question. And there's no easy answer. We know that Gumaktiv has ingredients that research has shown to be beneficial for oral health. It's made in a facility that follows good manufacturing practices, and they offer a money-back guarantee. So those are all good things.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
Right. We have to remember that everyone's different. What works great for one person might not do anything for someone else. So it's really important to have realistic expectations. And remember that this isn't some magic cure-all.
So even after all this research, there's still some uncertainty.
Absolutely.
It's not a simple yes or no.
That's just the nature of health and wellness. It's complicated.
So what should we do then?
Honestly, I think the best thing you can do is talk to your dentist. They can assess your individual situation, look at your oral health history, consider your current oral hygiene habits, and help you decide if Gumaktiv is right for you.
That's a great point. Your dentist can give you that personalized advice that we keep talking about. And remember, even if Gumaktiv isn't the right choice for you, there are lots of other ways to keep your mouth healthy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. A healthy diet, managing stress, not smoking, and, of course, brushing and flossing every day. Those are all super important.
Great advice. Well, I think we've covered Gumaktiv from all angles today. We've looked at the science, we've analyzed the marketing claims, we've weighed the pros and cons, and we've talked about why it's so important to get personalized advice from your dentist. So listener, here's a question for you to think about. Based on everything you've heard today, what factors will you consider when deciding whether or not to try Gumaktiv? Let us know what you think. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.
And keep on diving deep